it's time to paper mache our cake slice. To me, this is one of the most exciting parts of the project. Now, what we're going to put some newspaper down on your table because this can be messy. Now, having said that, this is not the time to get crazy with the cheese whiz, okay? We still have to try to be nice and neat because if we get this stuff all over the place, it's really going to start to compromise our project. You're going to have a tray of newspaper pieces. You're going to have your bucket of paper mache, and you'll have your cake slice bag. To start, all you have to do is take a strip of newspaper, dip it down into the paper mache, and this is the most important part. Take your fingers like a pair of scissors, run it down the length of your newspaper strip to get some of that paper mache paste off. If you don't do that, this cake slice is going to get so heavy and wet and soggy that it will start to fall apart. So be sure that you really pay attention, and each and every time you slide your fingers over that strip of newspaper to get the extra paper mache off. Now all you need to do is start laying your newspaper strips over your cake. At first it may be a little hard to get them to stick. You just need to smooth over your newspaper strips with your fingers and then just keep dipping your strips. You want to make sure when you are laying your strips down on your cake slice that you go in different directions. If we do everything in the same direction, our cake slice is not going to be as strong as it could be. So make sure that you lay strips in different directions. You want to work to cover your entire cake slice. We don't want to see any of the white cardstock. We don't want to see any of the tape. The only thing that we may see at the end is some of the bottom cardboard, because we're not going to necessarily wrap our paper mache all the way around. We're going to coat this with 3 layers of paper mache. That's going to be sure that we have everything nice and covered and our cake slice is really strong and sturdy once it is dried. I'm going to continue to paper mache our cake slice, and then we'll talk a little bit more once I'm finished. This cake slice has been completely covered in paper mache. It has 3 layers all over it. I cannot see any tape, any white cardstock. The only thing I can see is a little bit at the bottom. I didn't completely cover my bottom. I just overlapped a little bit, and you can still see where my name is on the bottom of the cake. That's very important because these are going to look almost identical, and we don't want to get confused about whose is whose, so make sure your name is still visible. You can see even on the edges of my cake, I have been really careful to wrap my paper mache around and really smooth it out so that everything looks really nice and high quality. One thing that you can do as you're paper macheing, if your cake slice starts to get too wet, you can take dry strips of newspaper and you can lay it over the parts that are maybe a little too wet, a little too soggy, and that dry paper will soak up some of the paste, and then you can continue paper macheing. Once we're done, we're going to move these over to the black drying rack in our classroom, and you will go to the sink in my storage room to wash your hands, and we need to follow our sink procedures for that. For people who get finished, I will show you a short little side project that you can work on while we're waiting to decorate our cakes.